Uh, should be all good. Ah, okay, this should be good. All right. So today is the third day of the stream, and yeah, we are going to do the very left from yesterday. So this must speak active. So yeah. So yesterday, what we did was we left. Uh, so yeah, we did this, I guess. The whole application until proxy is where. Mm, yeah. So yesterday we were seeing this that you know if you want to see more information about how the cluster is configured, a lot of configuration options here like uh, the connection timeout and all these things. So I think I'll have to start from top again. Or let me just see. CTL get ns. What is it? Istio.io. Yeah, I'll have to do these steps again. Let's quickly do these steps. Right. Yeah. So this is us deploying Canary. We will be deploying Canary here, and we will then just quickly do these steps that we did previously. They are all running. It's just uh yeah. Let's just do this again. Right. So all the things are working. So now we will just show a rollout and so yeah. So let's dig into the proxy configuration. Right. So there are a lot of things here. There's a port number, and this is currently the deployment. So we're looking at the web API deployment, and there is like an address, there is like a port, the destination. So this seems like a map, where the address should go to. So it's like an outbound, I guess, or bi-direction. I'm not sure yet. And we can also see this in JSON format and all that. You can also see the clusters that are configured. So what clusters, Envoy has knowledge of. You can see that. This is, I guess, listeners. So all the active listeners that Envoy has, knowledge of. That's all here. So it's all listening on these ports basically. Hmm, so you can also get information about the cluster. So within Web API, we are looking at the fully qualified domain name of recommendation, and we can see how Web API will connect to the recommendation URL basically, right? So there is transport socket patches, this TLS mode, what TLS mode will be connecting, the minimum protocol, maximum protocol. We also have the HTS configuration. There are a lot of things here. There's your match the alternate name. Like if you're doing MTLS, then this will be the spiffy this workload. So for the workload, this is the ID for that recommendation sidecar. You can see the load balancing also. So it's least request right now. Mm, you've got the host name of the. This is like your Kubernetes host name. It's got 5 indots. It's also got namespace. Okay, so yeah, so this is the next thing where we do hold application until sidecar proxy is ready. So sometimes, so there is a sidecar enhancement like cap out there. It's I think it's almost implemented or something like that, or it's like so it'll give you native sidecar support. Hey, Saurabh.
Yeah, hi, hi. कहाँ पे हो लोग?
हाँ, नहीं मैं तो रिकैप कर रहा था
अच्छा अच्छा.
ये साइड कंटेनर का एक
हम्म
प्रपोजल है बट नॉट येट इम्प्लीमेंटेड अभी तक.
हम्म
तो कभी कभी एप्लीकेशन को लाइक इट हैज टू स्टार्ट
हम्म
and like connect to the internet or something like that. So it can't do that because the proxy also has to start. So until that happens, it will fail. So for that,
हम्म
what can be done is you can apply this annotation, and in this annotation, you can like then using the annotation, you can then get this applied. So what will happen is if we check this again,
हम्म.
ये क्या हो गया 0 out of 1 nodes. अरे CPU 8 proxies.
Hard proxy means hard sidecar, right?
But memory शायद से नहीं है. Insufficient CPU.
kubectl stack होता है, right? I guess kubectl stack. No, let me see. kubectl अच्छा top होता है. So
So sorry.
it's okay.
ये इतना सब क्यों है? अच्छा कैनेरी डिलीट नहीं किया. बट मैंने तो डिलीट किया था। अच्छा कैनेरी है बट अदर वंस डिलीट नहीं हुआ शायद। तो वियर्ड है। आई रिमेम्बर डिलीट करने का भी था इधर। हाँ
ये
ये
है ना, ये
पे आना चाहिए मेमोरी सीपीयू। बस। सो इधर इसको अभी फिर से अप्लाई करना पड़ेगा शायद से। हाँ नाउ इधर इफ यू नोटिस Istio proxy created first, Istio proxy started first, फिर उसके बाद ही दूसरा इमेज। सो ये एप्लीकेशन जब तक प्रॉक्सी स्टार्ट नहीं होता तब तक
नहीं चलेगा।
नहीं नहीं होगा इंटर। तो कुछ तो लोग ने किया है तो उसकी वजह से नहीं होता स्टार्ट। सो यही था। इसके बाद तो हो गया अभी ये वाला बात। तो अभी नेक्स्ट इज MTLS।
लास्ट वाला वही था, वो ऐड करना until
हाँ वही
proxy।
होगा रिकैप।
ठीक है।
एक सेकेंड ना स्टार्ट करते हैं। ठीक है। उसका आवाज आया। ठीक है। क्या आवाज आया। सो या
हम चीज़ें देखते हैं।
सो दिस लैब में वी विल बी
Peer authentication।
सीइंग able to say not this part fail.
वेट,
It will
ये
still
लोड हो
work.
रहा। वेट वेट।
अच्छा लोड हो रहा है।
हाँ अब हुआ, अब क्लियर है। ये एमटीएलएस है, ओके। ऑटोमेटिक था। अच्छा, तो ये एमटीएलएस में ऑटोमेटिक सर्ट बनाता है क्या बिटवीन सर्विसेज?
मतलब हाँ अगर तूने सर्ट मैनेजर ऐसा कुछ कॉन्फ़िगर किया है तो सर्ट बनता है या तो डिफॉल्ट HTO CA से बनता है। Like
अच्छा,
HTO
समझ
CA
गया।
also there is something called cert.
हम्म।
So this makes it easier to introduce sidecar. So permissive mode होता है and strict mode होता है, right? So in
हम्म,
permissive mode, it is even if TLS fail, accept the connection. In strict mode, TLS fails, then don't accept the connection. So it will just
ओके.
discard the connection.
हम्म,
So so in this now we will do prerequisites and both
हम्म,
default and Istio action is by default Istio adopts a permissive mode for MTLS.
हम्म,
So let's create an so you have to use something called as peer authentication yeah, this namespace
ओके. क्लियर
and all
ऑथेंटिकेशन.
that.
हम्म.
So
स्ट्रीम लैग हो रहा है क्या? एक सेकंड.
अभी आ रहा है क्या वाला वैसे तू म्यूट पे
हाँ हाँ, अब सही है, अब सही है. बीच में रुक गया था.
कुछ तो शायद से इंटरनेट में लैग है
हाँ हाँ, लग रहा था. ठीक है.
so
हम्म.
peer authentication is created permissive
ठीक है.
right so at this point services within the mesh should be able to call other than the mesh and MTLS will be automatically enabled. Any
हम्म.
services outside of the mesh should also be able to connect. So outside of the mesh, inside of the mesh, both
हम्म.
services can connect.
ओके.
Right? This is working. This is connecting to sleep pod, Istio action, and we are doing curl to the default namespace
ठीक.
HTTP. Right?
ठीक है.
This is working. We are ready to
लैग हुआ बीच में.
नहीं यार मैं हॉटस्पॉट यूज करता हूँ
हम्म.
Is it working now?
ठीक है.
मैं ही चेक कर लेता हूँ twitch.tv what does it show for me? Is it better now?
हाँ ठीक है, ठीक है, अभी ठीक है. अब लैग नहीं हो रहा है.
I think Saurabh will have to rejoin.
क्या हुआ? Okay, let me go and rejoin.
Okay, let's see. I go on Twitch and see what is happening. Yeah, I can see. I can see on Twitch that it is not showing me.
अभी okay?
Ah, now I can see me.
हाँ,
Is it moving?
yeah, yeah, it's
ठीक है.
moving now.
So, let's continue. So, what I was doing is get deploy. HTTP bin. Oh yeah, man. So this is what the custom. Okay. So let me just check.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I can do from normal deployment to same like within the default namespace. I can do curl and I will not get any certificate, right?
okay.
And
It's applied, right? Already, it's the permissive already applied.
yeah, yeah. Now we will check. So we have done two times. We have done curl. One is service outside of the mesh, talking to the one inside the mesh. It's,
Yeah,
I
thought so.
think
Both are
for
fine.
there is a little bit of an error. It's probably so. This is for services in the mesh. Maybe one is in the mesh here. Okay, so this is from the mesh to someone outside the mesh, and this is from the mesh. This should be the other way around. We both if we run the following command for a service outside of the mesh talking to one inside the mesh. So outside the mesh, who is there? Who is there? Sleep is there, HTTP is there. Service outside the mesh talking to the one inside the mesh. So maybe we can just change this URL to something like I think if it's in the mesh it doesn't work. It's correct, right? Istio in action, web hyphen API. There's a port number something. Yes, it works. So this is from the mesh, outside the
Mm-hmm.
mesh to the service inside the mesh. Okay, so this works and there is no certificate information anywhere. So that we'll have to do a little bit of V. Right. So there is no certification, no SSL happening.
Mm-hmm.
So now what we will do is we will change this to strict, right? But we are going to do it only for one service at a time. So we will use the match table and we'll only do it for purchase history. Now, purchase history is your inside the mesh, whether it's sidecar proxy running. Okay, so we will apply this peer authentication to set the MTLS to strict, right? This is done. Now let us try to do the same thing what we did before. Like we try to call from outside the mesh to something inside the mesh. Now it should just work. Okay, it will still work because we did not do for purchase history, right? And it works here for purchase history because these two can connect to the can communicate. The ones inside the mesh can communicate to each other. But direct connection from outside to the mesh will fail for this purchase history. For example, so now let's just tell you some reality. Okay, in Kiali, let us check this in Kiali. We will do display, traffic animation, security, select namespaces. Which one is the namespace that we have to check? It will be Istio in action and it will be default. Right, so let me quickly do this. Okay, so now we should see some. I don't know why it's not. Oh, yeah, we'll zoom in a bit. Okay. So here, if you notice, right? See, this is within the Istio in action namespace, right? And here, from Web API, we have MTLS to all the services, right? The connection from out is not TLS secure. This one doesn't have a lock; it's HTTP, right? But the one that is like you notice, so this is calling recommendation, right? This guy is not calling recommendation. If this person tries to call recommendation, it will fail. But since it's in the traffic part of Web API, it does not fail. Right? This token, I don't know what it is for. Okay, now click on the call graph. I have no idea what that is. I think it's this call graph.
Is it the stream is stuck or something? It seems so. Stuck.
Did I get kicked? Yeah.
It's stuck. Now it's
Is it visible?
it's visible and okay.
I think it got stuck again. The internet is acting weird today.
Yeah.
So yeah. So what you are doing graph?
Hmm.
The curve. Let's do this 3 4 times. Now we'll have to zoom in a bit.
Hmm.
Right, it is not showing me this principles thing. I don't know what this principle thing is.
What principle?
Uh, I'm just trying to match this image. Yeah, this thing. See, it says MTLS enabled, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can see that there is recommendation and there is purchase,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this is recommendation and purchase.
Okay.
So we can see that there was MTLS, right? And these both have got a SPIFFy ID.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how they are identified, right? Using SPIFFy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
anything that is
So,
this identification is done using SPIFFy.
hmm. Okay. So before
If we
go further, can you please clarify that when you were calling, outside, inside, mesh, can you show me those commands because I still not get the clarity around this one because when you running the
so
Docker
these
ex
are
kubectl execute inside this, so like curl was like web API which is from different namespace, right? Default namespace, or when you're saying like outside or inside the mesh, like what does it mean here? So what I
so
can understand from
currently
hmm,
if you see these are not in the mesh. This namespace is a default namespace. This
hmm.
is not in the mesh, but
Oh, okay, okay.
this is in
Uh,
the mesh because they have sidecars.
sidecar. Okay, okay.
And this
Okay.
namespace is labeled with the Istio namespace label that is right.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Cool.
what is the whole purposes of showing that the service is inside the mesh, right? So
Hmm.
there was a even question that somebody asked me. For example, what if we could bypass the mesh? Right?
Hmm.
What if a normal service tries to connect to the services? Now the question was for ambient mesh, so I haven't taken a dive there. But
Hmm.
for sidecar, it won't be able to work because the sidecar runs and it executes IP table rules. So the
Hmm.
rules direct all the traffic to the sidecar.
Sidecar, exactly.
So all your security, authentication, and all this handled by the sidecar. So if
Hmm.
someone outside the mesh, so for example, there's a rogue application not inside the mesh,
Hmm. Hmm.
and it's trying to connect
Yeah,
to an application within the mesh. Could be
exactly.
any normal, any random application. And so they won't be able to touch the service that runs inside the mesh because
Hmm.
one, they need an identity token, right?
Okay.
That is a SPIFFy ID. If that is not there in their certification and that is not generated by the cert manager or HTOCA, right, then it won't accept it, right? So that
Okay.
is one way of security. The other is zero trust usually, but I
Hmm.
haven't done a whole lesson on zero trust. But zero trust basically means trust no one,
Yeah,
right? So
exactly.
everything requires an identity and all.
Hmm.
right?
Okay. Cool.
So
Cool.
yeah, so let's see now. So there's this question here that says, so what if you have services that take traffic from services outside of the mesh and are not immediately apparent to Kiali? So how can we switch to strict MTLS safely without breaking them? So now we will see who's calling with MTLS or plain text, right? Paragraph without regard for whether any non-mesh services may be calling it. If they had, they would begin to fail as they would be participating in MTLS. So anything outside the mesh can't connect now to this services, right? May it be a legitimate URL or anything, it can't connect to the services that are running the sidecar,
Hmm.
right?
Correct.
So what we will do is we have some options for reviewing whether a service is taking a plain text connection and deciding to enable strict TLS for that, or the service, or that for that service only when it does not take any plain text calls anymore. Whether a service is taking plain text connections and decide to enable only when it does not take plain. So we have a way to see if the connection is being upgraded to MTLS. So we will use envoy metrics and request logging in our examples above. The web API service can take plain text or MTLS traffic. Let's see how we can tell the difference.
Okay.
So we have to enable some metrics in Istio. So to enable these metrics in Istio, we need to whitelist them. Okay, so
Hmm.
even metrics you have to whitelist. So it gives you like a lot of granular control. So
Hmm. Nice.
if the stats only have these like annotated this, then it will get included. By default, all metrics I think block. So
Hmm.
let's just go to terminal one. So we have applied a new deployment now, right? What is with this annotation, right? Now let's do some curl
Hmm.
on the stats. So we can contact the Istio proxy directly and curl the stats. So using these,
Nice.
there are a lot of stats that you get like for SSL and all these. So you can use these to determine whether the connections are plain text or only direct TLS connections.
Hmm. Nice.
So
So.
let's send a plain text call. So this will probably fail. Okay, this is to web API, not purchase. So we are doing a call to the web API. Now we will check this TLS inspector metrics. Okay. So TLS inspector is something like a envoy thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's I think an
What it does?
envoy. There's a documentation for this here. Envoy TLS inspector, right?
Okay.
And now if we notice that TLS was not found for this connection. So web API accepted a connection from the sleep
Mm-hmm.
pod, which is outside the service mesh, right? And outside the
Hmm.
mesh, anyone that does a connection that's normal, simple HTTP connection, no TLS because there's no cert, right? So they can't
Exactly.
do TLS connection. Now
Mm-hmm.
what we will do is this stat has incremented TLS
Yeah.
not found, right? As we can see, all incoming traffic goes to the listener in port 15,006. So I did not run this, right? So let's see. So yeah, so all the connections are going to this port 15,006.
Okay.
So let's check the listener stats.
Hmm.
They have shown us this total one connection destroyed, and downstream request completed once. So we don't have something other than SSL handshake. So if this SSL handshake increments, it means that
Hmm.
the connection was TLS,
Hmm.
right? For the
Okay.
user, try calling the service in the mesh, right?
Right.
So now we will do the same thing, but we will be doing for services within the mesh. So
Hmm. Hmm.
sleep pod will call something that is within the mesh itself, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Now what we will do is we will check the stats again,
Hmm.
right? You can see SSL handshake has been incremented,
Hmm. Nice.
right? So there was a MTLS connection, that means the TLS connection happened.
Okay.
And if we do TLS inspector, it says TLS found one, SNI found one,
Hmm.
alternate no, ALPN protocols found one. Okay, so it means there
Hmm.
was a TLS connection. The SNI was also proper and all. It passed. Right. Then what we can do is by whitelisting these stats for workloads that you're trying to evaluate whether or not to convert to strict MTLS. Then you can tell whether it's safe or not to do so.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry. So this is not the only way, and there is something called as an authorization policy and access logging also that we can use to evaluate whether it's safe to convert to strict MTLS or not. Right. So Istio is spiffy for its identity model. So let's see what this looks like in practice. Let's specify an authorization policy that checks whether the source principal is not from a certain namespace.
Hmm.
Okay, so you can open it wider than that, but for now we're just going to focus on the namespace. Okay. So what is this? This is an authorization policy. Its name is audit web API. It's in the Istio in action namespace. The spec will match web API, right? And we will be doing like an audit log on it. So if you have heard of audit D or something like that in Linux, something similar to that. So it's like an audit you can do. The rules are from source, not namespaces, Istio in action.
Okay.
To operation method get path. So I'm guessing this is like
From
from
itself.
if it's
Ah.
like we just audit if it is not from Istio in action
Hmm.
and just these methods I just get. Yeah, see, note to this
Okay.
policy, you are saying the traffic comes to a web API service and it does
Hmm.
not have an MTLS identity that originates in the Istio in action namespace, then we should audit the request. That means we will still allow the request, but
Hmm.
we will annotate the request so we will know what was triggered by this policy.
Hmm.
For plain text connection, the source identity will be blank, so this will trigger the audit rule. So let's apply it.
Okay.
So this identity is basically the Spiffy ID,
Okay. Okay.
right?
Got it. Got it.
Now what we
So.
will do is we need to see whether a request has been audited or not. So to
Hmm.
do that, we will add another envoy filter. Okay. And we will be applying it to the network filter, matching the sidecar inbound listener filter chain. So we are doing it to the HCM, the HTTP connection manager. Right? What are we doing is we are adding a in this filter
Hmm.
we are adding a access log. Okay, and this is the filter for the access log, the path for it, and this is the format that we are going to use. Right? Okay, so let's apply this. So we are going to use, I think, dynamic metadata of Envoy. We added request forwarded client set and dynamic metadata log int. The former will print out any MTLS connection. For plain text, this will be empty. The latter field is set to true. Okay, so this will do anything not in STO in action, it will audit. So let's see what it is doing. So now we are calling it web API service from within the mesh with
Mm-hmm.
MTLS. Okay.
Okay.
Now we should check the logs. Right, we can see that MTLS origins 50 ID came in.
Nice.
Right.
Mm.
The destination
Yeah.
certificate is there and URL is there. This is audit flag is false. There is no audit done on this.
Mm.
Right. X forwarded client cert. I don't see this.
So
Must be something from this.
what happened? Like it's not showing. Audit flag should be true.
False, false. Because this is within the mesh.
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry.
This
Yeah.
is within the mesh.
Legal mesh. If it's outside, then it
So
will audit.
then it will trigger. So this X forwarded client cert header is probably this only.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think we have what we have said it. What we have put it here. Yeah, this is the cert. So cert X forwarded by cert header is this one. We have just put
Mm-hmm.
the name as cert and then we have done this. Okay, now call the web API service. We did that. Okay, now let's call the service from outside the mesh. Right, now we'll check the logs.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Now you notice that there is no nothing,
Mm.
not much information in it, but we got an
But
audit flag through.
true. Yeah.
So this connection that happened was not an MTLS connection.
Not enough.
There's
Mm.
no origin, there's no X audit cert, nothing.
Nice.
So we can scrape all
Yeah.
of these access logs into Splunk or Elasticsearch and then determine whether it's safe to enable MTLS.
Right.
So
Correct.
what is the
And
goal here is basically you do a slow rollout. As
mm-hmm.
soon as you keep adding more services into the mesh that
Mm.
don't have MTLS happening, right? What will happen is if you do it all at once, it will fail because you
Yeah.
don't
Exactly.
know, right? If any
Mm.
service wants to connect and it does not have MTLS.
Mm.
So to find out what services are not having MTLS or whatever, you can use
Mm.
this access log, and with this combination, you can use stats, right, to get the
Mm.
number of how many handshakes have happened, how many did not happen, if there was no cert found or something like that. And you can
Mm.
use that to get like a sort of a matrix. Okay,
Material.
these many are failing. I need to, set MTLS for these many things. So then the matrix will become, it will reach a point where you won't have these errors anymore. So
Yes.
then you can
Yes.
say, okay, it's safe to do MTLS now on in a
Mm.
strict mode. So
Mm.
now if we
Exactly.
do for
Yeah.
the now we will be doing it for the entire namespace, right?
Mm. That's
Right.
pretty.
So now if we call the
Yeah.
same thing that we did before, it should fail
Mm.
because strict mode.
Mm.
There's no
Sigma.
cert. But if
Mm.
we do the same within the mesh, it will work. So any connection outside of the MTLS won't work. So anything trying to touch your or contact your services will just stop at once.
Mm.
There will be
Mm.
no connection, no entry. Right. So this is it. This should be all green. What is this next lab? How big is it? I wanted to finish before Wednesday, yeah. So I could then start at least just trying to install Istio. Yeah, this is also a little long one. So probably tomorrow we'll try to do both and finish this also. Then after
Hmm.
that, we will sit and design like how we can, just do Istio with normal like.
Normal cluster instead of our cluster. Or
Yeah, I will be using K3D, I guess.
hmm.
I use K3D for local.
Yeah, that
If you want to do it with cloud, we can do it with cloud also. If we are doing it
hmm.
with cloud, then I think we can go with EKS because that is what I think mostly
Which,
people use.
which cloud?
AWS.
Acha, AWS.
Probably we can go with EKS.
Hmm.
Want to even do that. But if that doesn't work out, I'll try to install Istio on it once to see things work there. If it doesn't, then I will probably just do it locally in K3D cluster, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was using this K3D. Was like, was okay. Like you having, it can give you multiple node on your local, but still it's like Kubernetes inside Docker, Docker in Docker kind of thing. Uh, yeah, but we can choose anything like, because here we're not saying like multiple nodes, so it doesn't matter here. It's just how
So
it.
yeah, eventually, so I don't know if by default Istio is good as like multi-cluster, but I know
Mm,
you can do single cluster very well
single.
with Istio. Yeah,
I
so
heard like
first,
I don't like I heard they were like it's multi-cluster issue is based on federation or something. I'm not sure, but it says federation,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? Something like that.
Yeah, that's why actually we have that blue mesh, right? Blue mesh is
Mm,
that the management plane that we have. So that
mm,
makes it easier to do all these multi-cluster, like
exactly.
all these adding workload clusters and all.
Mm-hmm.
So that is, I think, easier in blue mesh. But we will be doing only STO now for now.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
for now, we will just do single cluster. Probably EKS gives by default three nodes or something like that.
Huh.
Not sure. Yeah, I think EKS gives like three nodes or something like that.
Mm, I know about this one. Like I have this free tier on Azure, so not sure. Like it only give like uh, 8 gig of RAM or something. Like overall, the free tier quota or something. Anyways, like
Okay, okay.
yeah, so I
Yeah,
just
let's
seen this.
see.
Yeah, I just seen this one. This one more application is there. Like I forgot. Uh, Here, apart from this review app from the issue itself, there was one more application. What was that? I just forgot the name. You deployed it here, right? Can you list down those pods?
Which one? Pods.
Like issue action namespace. Action. Where is that? Purchase history. Okay, that is the one. I don't know what's that actually. Is that?
I think that is, these are the lab specific containers. So it
Huh.
is based on the fake service container,
Hmm.
and then it just like loads data in it.
So it's like, okay. Because what I was thinking is there is one set of application in Istio uh, documentation. Is this one
Yeah, yeah,
related to
that
that?
is the book. That is the book
Yeah,
info, I guess. Book info one.
like
Book
purchase
info one
history.
is good.
Hmm,
Yeah,
that's
book info, I think it is. I think it's the
okay.
same thing, the book info one.
Hmm.
But we have just customized some few deployments with our own images. Sometimes
Oh,
the people who make the labs, they add some more things, so then they
oh.
just make their own images. But these images should be available in Docker also. You can just pull them and use them. But yeah, mostly we'll have
So,
to we'll be doing
uh,
this tomorrow.
okay, so there is one thing in the Istio repo itself. There is samples folder.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have used those. We can use those also. We
Hmm.
can go through those also, like you're talking about the Istio samples, right?
Hmm, yeah.
Istio samples.
Yeah, exactly. This is
Oh,
the one.
yeah, yeah. There are a lot of options that you can do.
Elementary, yeah.
We can do
Specific.
these also. We can try to deploy some, something custom like WordPress or something like that, or some three-tier application or something like that,
Hmm.
just to see how like actual services.
Hmm.
Or what we can do is, since I'm also learning Golang now, what I was
Hmm.
thinking is we slowly write these microservices in
Hmm.
Golang, Rust,
Hmm.
and I don't know what other things are there. Like Wasm is there,
Hmm.
so we can use like we can in between break out the session
Hmm.
and like just write services with these technologies like Wasm and
Hmm.
things like Python, uh, Rust, and Golang, and just deploy that. Or there is one more application I can't remember the name, but it's mostly used for load testing. So it's like a Kubernetes application that is used for load testing. So you can use
Uh,
that also.
locust something. Oh, K9.
No, no, this is actually an application by some, I think, I can't remember by who. It's like a game, some sort of a game. You just click one click and it does like a lot of calls in the backend. So it tries to generate load.
Okay. Okay. So load testing. I thought like load testing. Yeah, it's like.
No, no, it is a load creating app. It emulates like a heavy environment, like
Uh,
where you have like multiple applications running.
hmm. I guess there, or we can also see any open source tools just to deploy. Like let's say, uh, what was that? Like some sort of dashboards, right? Uh, let's see. Like I'm not getting any because what I'm saying like Argo CD, Grafana dashboard, and some of the
Yeah,
other.
yeah, we can do that also. Usually Argo is recommended for this, but I think there is some things with the rollout, Argo CD rollouts that are there. I think there are
Yeah.
some issues with Istio and that, but we can try it also.
Huh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like any like what do you call it? There is one called Helm dashboard or the Tron dashboard, I guess. If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Devtron, I know people in Devtron.
Yeah.
Can call
So.
them also on the call. Uh, we can have a
Hmm.
joint session with them.
No. Okay. Cool. Cool. Yeah. So Helm dashboard or K6X. It's called K6. I
Yeah,
guess.
I think that is for load testing.
K6. Go loaded.
Mm,
Nice dashboard. uh, like any sort of application. I don't think so. Like, but these are like internal integration happening. So we can see. Ki, even I need to remember. I need to see how you know how we can have these metrics over the authentication, right? Because what happening like if we have some like different sources and we want to connect it to the Prometheus and through the Grafana. I just need to discover this one, actually see how it actually working, like different agents outside of the cluster, in different cluster, and we're actually having Grafana dashboard in one cluster, and we're getting all different sources from outside and having the authentication in place. So that is also one of the case.
Yeah, might work.
Okay.
Anyways, that's it for
Yeah.
today. I will probably try to work on the Golang thing
Hmm.
today night. So that's it.
Sounds, that sounds good
ठीक
actually.
है
Sounds.
then. चलो
Okay. Okay.
bye bye.
Okay. Bye. Bye.